favorite team.
No, not this year, but it's next year where Bill Belichick ends up on the hot seat.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? It is the Brady Farkas Show here on this Friday. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. It's WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I thank all of you for hanging out with me. We've got a full show, all 90 minutes. Then we go up until Jazz with George Thomas, although George Thomas is not in today. Lee Cattell will be doing the Jazz program tonight at 7. So, again, full show, all 90 minutes. If you're with me right now, let me know. It's bad weather. People aren't really in their cars. It's pre-holiday. If you are with me right now, I think our numbers might be small today. Not like I don't like thinking about that. I don't like admitting that, but I think our numbers might be small today. But if you're out there, let me know that you are out there. 802-585-3026. That is the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. That's 802-585-3026. We'll have a lot of fun to get to today if you are out there with us. Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, is going to stop by in about 15 minutes here. It's going to talk Patriots and Bengals. We'll do our six-pack of NFL questions to get you ready for the NFL weekend. We'll also do a little bit of year-in review stuff and an interesting take on the Red Sox from one John Tomasi.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
Our opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. I think tonight I'm going to get a first in this business. Right? I've been doing this now for 8 years. And I think tonight is going to be the first time ever that I sleep in the studio. I've never slept overnight in the studio before. And I think that tonight is going to be the first time. You know, look, I look outside right now. It's raining. It's snowing in Waterbury. The roads are already a little bit covered. The flash freeze and all of that. I think tonight is going to be the first time I ever do it. I have been put up in a hotel before because of bad weather, so I have stayed overnight because of weather before. I've never actually slept in the studio. I'm not officially decided yet, but I think it's trending that way. If you are out on the roads or if you have been out on the roads, let me know how they are, really, because I'm asking you to help me make the decision, right? Like, I don't want to stay in the studio, right? This building's 100 years old. The ghosts are going to come out if I stay here and turn all the lights off. We have a couch that God knows how old it is. Blankets that I don't know how long it's been since they've been washed. I have no idea what I'm getting into if I spend the night here. Of course, I don't want to spend the night here, but I don't want to drive in bad weather. Now, Jess has already gone back to Albany. So if I go home, I'm not going home to anything tonight. I'm going back to Albany tomorrow. So if I go home, I'm not going back to anything. So I also don't know that it's worth the risk to go back just to be by myself, the same as I would be here. I need you to help me make this decision. Help me make it feels kind of like a rite of passage in this business. I almost feel like everybody in this business needs to stay overnight in the studio one time. I've heard great stories from people who have had to stay overnight in the radio studio. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's something I should do once in my life, but of course I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to sleep where they work. Nobody wants to be holed up where they work. And I know what's going to happen. Like, I know what's going to happen. If I stay here tonight, the morning news service is going to go on tomorrow at 5 a.m. They're going to wake me up and ask me to be a part of it. I know that. I know they're going to ask me to. I'm going to be sleeping on that couch, and somebody's going to get in here at 4:30 in the morning for that 5 o'clock show, and they're going to say, oh, hey, Brady, why don't you be a part of it? That's what's going to happen. I already am planning on it here. Phil in Middlesex says, I'm present, Brady. Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate you. Happy holidays. Ray in Warren says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to you. Thank you. You as well. Ray says, walk over to McGillicuddy's for a few. I called McGillicuddy's. They're shutting down probably by the time I get off the air because of the weather. I can't blame them. Now, I'll tell you what I have done, though, is I ordered online and I ordered for a 7 o'clock pickup. So I can either pick that up at 7 and drive it back to Essex with me, or I can just bring it right back across the street and eat it here in the studio. But I do have dinner planned out at McGillicuddy's tonight. But I'm not going to be able to eat it there. So I'm covered on the food department. What I just don't know yet is the final decision. Tex says, Brady, thanks for hanging in there. Don't drive home. Stay at the station. You will love it. In my job, sometimes I didn't get home for 3 days. What do you do? I'd like to know what you do if you had to stay for 3 days. Texter says roads are clear in Barrie, but watch out for the ghosts inside the studio. I'm glad the roads are clear in Barrie. I'm not going towards Barrie. So I need to go north if I'm driving home. I'm not going south. Matt in Bolton says, Brady, snowing in Bolton, that's not good news for me, right? If it's snowing in Bolton, that means it's not so good heading up the interstate. So that makes me more likely to want to stay here or to feel like I need to stay here. The texter who says they don't leave for 3 days sometimes is an airport manager. Yes, I could see how that would be. Like you could end up being stuck there for a while. Texter says you will love staying at the station. Will I? I don't know if I will. Like, I look at the positives. Okay, I look at the positives, and the positives are I got the place all to myself, right? So George Thomas is not coming in today. Lee is coming in, but I don't think Lee is staying tonight necessarily. So I'll have the place to myself, or Lee will be here. One of the two. I'm not sure yet. But either way, it's a limited crew. I've got multiple computers. I got a TV. Right in the studio, we got a TV. I can watch the Celtics game. I got a computer. I can, throw on another game. I don't have to drive. Save gas. That's all good. I got McGillicuddy's. I got food. Go across the street to the gas station and grab a soda to go with my food. Texter says you should get a 6-pack of beer, Brady. You know what? If tomorrow wasn't Christmas Eve and I wasn't going to drink enough on Christmas Eve, I probably would get a 6-pack of beer and have it here at the studio. One, I don't know if they frown upon that. But two, I'm going to drink tomorrow. So I'm not going to drink tonight. I'll probably just get a soda. Kyle in Addison says, I left Williston at 5. It was snowing fairly hard. Bob in Moncton says, Brady, stay in the studio. It's much safer. It will make for a good show when you get back. You people are trying to get me to stay. You people are trying to get me to stay. You're taking care of me, and I appreciate that. Because this has been a decision I've been wrestling with all day. Literally, like, I'm going to Albany tomorrow. And I don't know exactly where I'm coming from, right? Am I going to go from my apartment or am I going to go from here? So I'm packed. Like, I got all my Christmas gifts with me. I got my duffel bag with me, everything I need for the weekend with me right now. So I'm ready to go. I brought an extra blanket here, a big coat. I got all kinds of stuff if I want to stay the night, but it's been a decision I've been wrestling with because nobody wants to stay the night at where they work. I love it here. Nobody wants to spend the night. But again, if I go home, I'm going home to nothing. So I don't know that it's really worth it. Texter says, Brady, spend the night at the studio. Would love to hear you on music to go to the dump by. You need to sing the hymn of the day. That's funny you mentioned that because Farmer Dave apparently was talking about me the other day. Farmer Dave said to me, or he said to the higher ups here, he said, I got to do the dump show with Brady. And I'm like, does Farmer Dave know who I am? Why does Farmer Dave want to do the dump show with me? I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about music. I especially don't know a lot about the music that's on the dump show. And they're like, Farmer Dave said he's basically done a show with everybody else here at DEV, and you're like the last remaining one. I think he's done the dumb show with Lee. He's done it with Greg Hooker. I think he's done it with Jack Donovan, obviously. He's done it with Kaya, I think, has sat in there. We know that Ken Squire's been on the dumb show, obviously. Apparently, I'm the only one left. I don't know. I might be a little intimidated by the dumb show, though. I've never done it. Again, I don't know a lot about music. Like, I know if it's 2004 to 2010 hip-hop, I got a good idea of what it is. Other than that, I'm not so well-versed. I still have an iPod, and I still listen to music that was popular when I was in high school. I haven't discovered new music in a while, and I don't know a lot of old music if they're talking about that. So I'm a little intimidated by the idea of doing the dumb show. Dane in Rochester says, do it. Do the dumb show. What am I? I don't even know what I'm going to, like, what would I talk about? Seriously, this is a serious question. On the dumb show, are we playing more music or are we doing more talking? Because I could talk. I can't do a lot of music. They're a very intimidating crew there with their knowledge and experience and how zesty their fan base is. I don't know that I can hack it on the dumb show. And maybe the dumb show guys can't hack it on the Brady Farkas show. I kind of stay in my lane, and I like my lane. I got out of my lane to do Vermont Viewpoint, and I thought it went fairly well. I don't know how I'd land, how I'd do on the dumb show. It's a little nerve-wracking. I don't know what's more nerve-wracking, potentially doing the dumb show or potentially sleeping here at the studio. So I don't know. Texter says, Farmer Dave will guide you if you do the dumb show. Let's hope. And then they say, sit in on Outlet Saturday morning, gain some knowledge about good music. That would be helpful. And Jack's very nice to me. Jack and I get along very well, so he would really help me out for sure. All right. Should I or should I not stay the night? Again, I've got dinner covered. I'm picking up dinner at 7 o'clock at McGillicuddy's. Now, they told me that they weren't staying open much past 7, so that's why I can't just, say, okay, I'm going to go there and have a few drinks. So I've got dinner covered for 7. I'm picking that up. The question is, am I taking it home, or am I staying here by myself and Lee here also? I've got a blanket. I don't have a pillow. I would probably wad up a sweatshirt or something, though. I don't want to have to do this, but it feels kind of like a rite of passage, does it not? Like, I've heard great stories about radio hosts who have spent the night in the studio. Now, I think they usually have 4 or 5 of them doing it, and it turns into a big, giant adult slumber party. But, I don't have that. I don't have that at my disposal here if it's just me or just me and Lee. Texter says, stay away from the dump show. You're not a native Vermonter. Wow. Flatlanders can't be on the dump show. Jack Donovan grew up in Boston. And I can't be on the dump show? Wow. Hurtful. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on DEB. Let's talk a little football. We'll get back to all this stuff here after we talk to Phil Perry.
It's another Football Friday and another look at your New England Patriots.
And I will put it at the feet of Mac Jones. I mean, you get the credit when everything's going well. First third down of the game, first drive of the game, you throw it right to the other team. 7 points going the other way.
With all the info from Patriots Place, it's Pat's insider, Phil Perry.
No, it's not that I think less of him. I think the fact that I am high on him leads to the honest criticism of him. I know he's better than the way he's played.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEB AM, FM, and WDEBradio.com.
All right, let's welcome in Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston Patriots insider. He's our guy with us every Friday. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brady. Just getting ready for Christmas weekend, and I'm hoping that the football team gives us something worth watching on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, let's hope so as well. Before we get into the football, though, I got to ask you a question. Here we are now. We are, early evening in Vermont. We've got the flash freeze warning out. We've been told to stay off the roads, as of 4 o'clock. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to spend my first night ever in a studio, if I'm going to try to make it home. Have you ever spent the night in a studio before?
That's a great question. I've come close. I've never actually slept in the studio before, but I have gone I would say the latest I've been has been 5 a.m. But then I didn't really have to work until like the next night, so I could get home even though the sun was coming up, go to sleep, and do the whole vampire thing. So I respect you. If you do that, that's a level I've never been at before.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm taking inventory on the text line of how the roads are. I don't want to stay in the studio, but there's a sports bar right next door. As long as it's open, I could watch the Celtics game. It wouldn't be the worst night I've ever had if I had to do it, but I'm still debating.
I listen. I think the fact that you're even kicking it around is just a sign of your mental and physical toughness.
Hey, weather here is an issue. Weather across the country is an issue. Several games tomorrow slated to start, with wind chills, sub 10 degrees and several into zeros as well. What's the weather predicted to be like in Foxborough tomorrow?
Cold and maybe really windy. Now, it sounds like the worst of the wind will have died down by the time the game starts at 1 o'clock, but there's the potential for that to change between now and then. And if you're getting the cold combined with winds that are, 25, 30 miles an hour, it might even be more than that before kickoff, then that's a real factor. That could change the game. I mean, I don't know if it'll be as severe as the wind when the Patriots played in Buffalo last year was in that regular season game where they only threw it 3 times and still found a way to win. But even if it impacts the passing game in the slightest, I think that can be, in some ways, the great neutralizer. I mean, the Patriots, when they're playing well and they're winning games, they're doing it in large part because of their defense as it is. So if the weather can somehow slow down Joe Burrow and this Bengals passing attack, and the Patriots are able to keep it close, and it comes down to something fluky like a special teams score or something of that ilk, then, maybe it's a closer game than I think a lot of people are anticipating.
I completely agree with you. However, as I say this kind of jokingly, since the Patriots can't score in the red zone, I don't know that I need any wind impacting Nick Folk field goals because they might need like 7 of them to win the game.
That's a good point. When the Patriots can't do anything through the air anyway, and their field goal kicker, who is very accurate, also doesn't have the best leg in the world, maybe rooting for wind is not the way to go.
I'm old enough to remember the Super Bowl at the early portion of 2022 when Joe Burrow was getting ready to play the Rams, and everybody was saying that Mac Jones' ceiling is Joe Burrow. Mac could be the next Joe Burrow. It seems like I haven't heard that recently. Phil, I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why, too. I think what's really made this season disappointing from the Patriots' perspective and where they've failed is really by not seeing how close Mac Jones can get to be Joe Burrow, even if you think he'll never get to that level. And I think that's fair. Joe Burrow is going to be in the MVP discussion for probably the next 10 years, right? If you don't think he's ever getting there, could he be Joe Burrow light? Even that you don't know, Brady, because of what Mac Jones has been surrounded by this year. But you look at Burrow. Burrow is not the most dynamic guy in terms of his athleticism. Now, he's probably a better athlete than Mac Jones, but he's not a strong-armed quarterback. I would say, maybe his arm's a little stronger than Mac Jones is, but it's really, he still, if you watch these Bengals games, there are still throws that he has a hard time making. And so, there's a mold there where Burrow is telling the rest of the world, you do not have to be an elite physical specimen to be an elite quarterback. I know Josh Allen's doing his thing. I know Patrick Mahomes is doing his thing. I know Jalen Hurts is doing his thing here in 2022. But you don't have to be one of those guys to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. That's what Joe Burrow has reminded us this year and last year too. And again, you can say Mac Jones will never get to the level that Joe Burrow is, in partly because of where he's physically deficient. But Burrow's not a specimen. And the fact that the Patriots have no idea, literally no idea, Brady, how good Mac Jones can be after year 2 because he wasn't given an offensive coaching staff and his weapons are still subpar. That to me has to be the greatest disappointment of the season, including even if they can't make the playoffs.
Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston Patriots insider, with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I've said this from the start. I don't think Mac Jones is special, and special quarterbacks can overcome all the dysfunction around them. Most quarterbacks are not special, and therefore most quarterbacks cannot overcome dysfunction around them. I mean, it's got to be only like 2 or 3 quarterbacks in football that can overcome a high level of dysfunction, which is what Mac is dealing with this year. So I guess my question is when we go into the offseason, does Mac largely get a free pass because of everything that's gone on around him?
I think so. And, you could say I'm being a Mac Jones apologist, but I just think the level of dysfunction, Brady, is so unusual because the situation with the coaching staff is unprecedented that it's hard to compare it to other situations. And I said this last night, we were talking about the reactions that guys like Vince Wilfork and Julian Edelman have had to Mac Jones's on the field emotional outbursts directed towards the coaching staff. And what I said was, it's really easy to sit back from afar and criticize the guy for acting that way. I think there's another side of the coin here that, has been brought to my attention by other people in the league, is that, the fact that it took 13 weeks for it to get there, or whatever it was, that Bills game is really where we first saw it on Thursday night. That might in some ways be a commentary on just how long Mac Jones held out before making these outbursts. Like, I think for a lot of people, you might have seen it even sooner than when you have. It's that bad, Brady, and it's that unprecedented that, the guy's career is potentially derailed because of this really foreseeable situation that it seems like that the rest of the football watching world was able to predict outside of the people at One Patriot Place.
We talk about Edelman and Wilfork criticizing Mac and his outbursts or tantrums or whatever. And I almost wonder, and you're in the building every day, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of think Mac Jones is like going through some kind of journey to like find out who he is as a leader. I've seen him be fun Mac. I've seen him be yes man, corporate Mac, and now I've seen him be emotional Mac. Is this just the ebbs and flow of what's going on around him and it's normal, or is he kind of searching for what kind of leader he needs to be?
Yeah, it's a really interesting way of looking at it. I think he feels as though he needs to be this way because it's time to panic. And I think sometimes you need to tell people that, you can say it's never a good time to panic. I think for most of the season, everyone tried to grin and bear it and bite their tongue and say yes sir, no sir, and see how it worked and give the process the time it needed to develop. It got so late in the year and it's getting worse, Brady. That's the thing. It's getting worse that I think if you have a leader there who doesn't say anything when they see things that should be corrected, not corrected, then you're at the point of resignation. So, I still look at it. I think there is some merit to what Mac Jones is doing. And I think there's a reason, Brady. To me, it seems as though he has not been spoken to about these outbursts. Because if he had, do you think they'd continue? Or do you think when he was given the opportunity to walk those outbursts back at his press conference this week, when he was asked multiple questions about it from our buddy Tom Curran, he didn't? If he had been spoken to by Bill Belichick or even by one of the other leaders on the team, David Andrews, Devin McCourty, Matthew Slater, hey, Mac, we all understand you care, but it feels like it's verging on being too much. I think he would have walked them back. He didn't. He did anything but. He basically said, no, I'm going to, I want to make sure we're on top of our details, essentially, is what he said. And, if that's what I need to do, then that's what I need to do. I think it's gotten to such a point, it's gone past the boiling point, that I think he feels as though this is a lever he needs to pull to make sure that people are staying on top of their P's and Q's. And clearly he doesn't feel like that's happening consistently.
Ramondre Stevenson and Jacoby Myers make an undeniably bad play at the end of the Raiders game. Is that just Belichick and company not being on those details? Is that those players going rogue because they don't trust their coaches? Or is it just instinct gone wrong at the wrong time?
I think it could be. It's interesting, and we'll never really know for sure, but what really interests me is it instinct's gone wrong because of what's happened all year this year? Meaning they weren't consciously saying, screw the coaching staff, and I'm going to do my own thing here. But in the backs of their minds, they knew that they were kind of sniffing the end zone at that point, and they're not used to being that close to the goal line on a regular basis, and that if the thing went to overtime, they just didn't trust themselves or their offense or their offensive staff specifically enough to put them in position to score and win the game. So somewhere in the recesses of their football minds, it was overridden, the understanding that they should just go down and play for overtime, by this idea of, if we don't score now, it might never happen. Again, we'll never know if that's the case. But, you have to really get both those guys on the couch to be able to figure that one out. But that would be interesting to me if that was that play. Now, to your first point, should the coaches have sent some kind of reminder into the huddle? I always thought really the answer to that would be no. And it's my understanding that the answer to that is that it did not happen. Clearly, I talked to Hunter Henry after. He said, it's kind of on me. I'm a veteran guy. I've seen a lot of end of game situations. Like, I could have said something in the huddle before we went out for that play to just remind people, if we don't score here, just go down and play it safe and play for overtime. But he didn't. And so he took, ownership of that. But I did hear Rob Ninkovich on his podcast this week say that he expected the coaches to provide that kind of reminder that we're talking about. So I think there are people in both schools of thought. That surprised me that Ninkovich would say that he expected to. I thought it was so rudimentary, Brady, to go down in that situation, that it would be like reminding your players in the huddle to, okay, guys, just make sure you inhale and exhale, while we're out here. We don't need anybody keeling over. It's that simple. And it's that understood that that's what needs to happen. But Ninkovich said no, and he believed that there was room for a reminder there that never came.
Phil, I've kept you for too long as it is. I'll get you out of here on two quicker questions. I've been wondering this all week. Unless you think you're going to take that ball to the house, 55 yards on the draw play, why are you not just kneeling it? Because everyone said our plan was just to get to overtime. If that's truly the plan, then why not just kneel on the ball?
I think they think that that play call, and we've seen it multiple times now this year. If you remember, Brady, you'd have to go all the way back to, I believe it was the Cleveland game, where they had a 3rd and long situation, and they were sort of on the edge of the red zone, and they were basically playing for a field goal because that's who they are in 2022. They are conservative. They play for field goals. They play for field position. They do not push the envelope when it comes to their passing game. And, Bailey Zappe's in the game for that Cleveland game, and he hands it off on a draw play to Ramondre Stevenson. And Ramondre Stevenson ends up, what do you know, taking it to the house for a touchdown. And they were praised for it on the broadcast. Wow, nobody really expected this draw play to go for a score, but the Patriots caught them napping, and they were praised up and down. And that was really probably when Matt Patricia was feeling his oats most as a play caller because of the way that game ended up turning out. And you'll remember, at the end of the Cardinals' first half, Brady, what did they do before kicking a field goal at the end of the second quarter? They handed it off to Kevin Harris on a draw to basically just run clock. They ended up fumbling and almost losing the football and taking points off the board themselves. And we all looked at that play and said, man, are they out of sorts at the ends of half and in critical situations, in these situational football situations. So this is like their one grade up from taking a knee is run a draw into the middle of the line. I think they got spoiled early in the year thinking, hey, we got a pretty good run game. Maybe it does turn into an explosive play, and it turns into a touchdown nobody's expecting. I think that's what it was. It's a slight pickup from taking a knee. It's a knee with a 10% chance of the thing going to the house, and that's how they played their run.
Phil, one word. Do the Patriots win tomorrow?
No. No, these next three are all going to be tough, Brady. It's a mismatch offensively. They're just not going to be able to keep up on the scoreboard with an offense like Cincinnati's, in my opinion.
Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, Pat's Insider, pregame live tomorrow at noon. It's the best place to watch Patriots pregame. We're the best place to listen to Patriots pregame. Of course, it begins at 10 a.m. Phil, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we appreciate everything you've done for us this year, and we'll talk again soon.
Same to you, Brady. Really appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners. Appreciate you all, and we'll be talking soon for sure.
Yes, we will. Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, one of my favorite segments every single week. All right, we're going to get the CBS News update. Then I'm going to answer some of your texts that are giving me stuff about the weather and if I should stay here. We got takes on the Patriots and Bengals. Peter in Williston's got an interesting thing he wants to say about Mac that I want to react to. I'm going to go look outside at what the weather is, and we'll see if I make a decision. All that after the CBS News right here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Rocket Mortgage.
I'm Peter King in Orlando. Wicked winter weather is playing cruel tricks on holiday travelers, whether it be heavy snow, frigid temperatures, or both. Rain in some areas, too. Here's correspondent Bradley Blackburn.
From near whiteout conditions in Minnesota to dangerous flooding in the Northeast, the massive winter storm is bringing extreme weather to dozens of states. The so-called bomb cyclone is forcing airlines to ground flights, disrupting the Christmas weekend for travelers.
I think our plans are ruined.
It also means some holiday gifts won't get there until after Christmas. CBS's Jim Krasula.
FedEx, UPS, the U.S. Postal Service, and Amazon are all warning that the severe winter storm affecting much of the country could delay millions of last-minute Christmas gift deliveries. This is the second busiest week for U.S. package delivery companies, which are moving more than 165 million parcels per day this week.
The Great Lakes region and western and central New York seem to be getting most of the snow right now. Further east, severe thunderstorm warnings are up for parts of New England. The cancellations and delays keep piling up for flyers, too. FlightAware says there are more than 8,200 delays in the U.S., more than 5,000 flight cancellations today. The government will stay in business after House passage of a $1.7 trillion budget. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
We have a big bill here because we have big needs for our country. We have the largest defense appropriation ever, and again, but at the same time, pleased to put a penny in the old man's hat. We address the needs of America's working families with special focus on our children.
Many Republicans voted against the bill, saying taxpayers would get stuck with a bill for needless programs. Haiti has long been in a state of anarchy and turmoil, and now its government is asking for outside help in stopping the violence there. Here's CBS's Pamela Falk.
Haiti's economic and political crisis is dramatically deteriorating, and the UN urged the world to respond to the Haitian government's request for an international armed force. U.S. Ambassador Robert Wood.
Ongoing kidnapping, use of sexual violence, and raping by gangs, clashes between gangs, and the blockage of the country's main roads remain significant challenges.
The UN urged action before year's end because of the brutality of the violence by armed gangs against civilians. Pamela Falk, CBS News, United Nations.
In Paris, protests after a gunman shot and killed 3 people at a Kurdish cultural center. What's believed to be a racially motivated attack. The suspect wounded and is in custody. This is CBS News.
This hour's newscast is presented by Rocket Mortgage. Need to know what it takes for a home loan to fit your budget and your family? Rocket can.
Looking for cozy handcrafted holiday gifts that everyone will love? Visit the Vermont Flannel Company, handcrafted in America since 1991. Explore their beautiful selection of 100% organic cotton flannel clothing, blankets, and accessories. Vermont Flannel blankets are the perfect present, and Vermont Flannel clothing is so comfy you'll want to wear it on every adventure. Vermont Flannel in Woodstock, Burlington, Ferrisburg, Johnson, East Barrie, and now Manchester. Shop online at vermontflannel.com.
Giving everything you've got on every possession. Working with and supporting your team at every turn. Treating each team member with respect. Making sure you give your best every time. This is the essence of high school sports. It's also what we believe at Nelson Ace Hardware. At Nelson's, each team member gives their all and does their best for every customer. This is Bob Nelson of Nelson Ace Hardware. Linda and I appreciate not only your support of Nelson Ace Hardware, but your support of local area sports as well. Enjoy listening to the game, and remember, life is challenging, so play hard.
Hunger Mountain Co-op has been Montpelier's community-owned natural grocery store since 1972. The co-op features nearly 3,000 local products, including fresh produce, house-made, prepared foods, artisanal cheeses, distinctive wines, and handcrafted baked goods. The co-op's purpose is deeply rooted in our belief that good food helps create sustainable local food systems and vibrant, healthy communities. Hunger Mountain Co-op is located at 623 Stonecutters Way, Montpelier, and is open daily 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Online at hungermountain.coop. Everyone is welcome.
Hey, everybody, I'm Lee Cattell. Have your lunch with Brady Farkas and me weekdays on the Midday News Service. The latest local news, Brady's sports report, Roger Hill updates from the Forecast Center, plus business, interviews, and breaking news as it happens. The Midday News Service, weekdays during the noon hour on Vermont's news and sports leader, WDEV FM and AM. Streamed at WDEVradio.com. The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. All right, I'm going to stay the night tonight. I'm going to stay the night here. I looked outside at the commercial break. The road is already covered in snow here. It's snowing. I can't tell if it's snowing hard or if it's snowing a little bit and blowing around like crazy, but nonetheless, the visibility here in Waterbury doesn't appear to be that good. I imagine it's only going to get worse. The temperature is going to drop. Right now, it's still above 30 degrees, and when it gets under 30, that's where we're going to see that flash freeze. I'm going to stay the night. I thought about it all day. I didn't want to do it all day. I'm going to stay. I'm going to sleep on the couch that God knows how old it is. I'm going to sleep. There's going to blanket there that I couldn't tell you when the last time. I'm just itchy looking at it. I brought my own blanket, so hopefully I don't need more than one because I don't want to use this thing. I don't know how long it's been there for. I'm going to stay. I got my McGillicuddy's order in 7 o'clock. I'm going to pick it up, and then I'm just going to bring it back here. I'm going to make a night of it. I'm going to watch the Celtics game. I'm going to stay up late, watch the Kings game to see my guy Kevin Herter play, who used to play with my brother in high school. So I'm going to stay the night. Peter and Williston said, Brady, I agree. Be careful. Another texter said, Brady, don't be afraid to camp out. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Yeah, it probably is more than once in a lifetime. It'll be the first time I've ever done it, that's for sure. 8 years in, right? Like, I've done a lot to avoid spending the night in studios before. I have gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning to snow blow my driveway so I could get to work. I have stayed in a hotel to avoid staying the night in the studio. I've never once done it, but here we are. Tonight is going to be a first. Peter says, even my mom agrees it is the safest option. That's what's important. Making it fun with the NBA is cool too. And again, I can get two devices going, right? Because I've got the TV in the studio and I've got the computer. Mary in Randolph says, call it an adventure. I slept at the Silo Distillery where I work because I had Airbnb guests on a sofa bed. Merry Christmas. Ralph says, happy holidays to me and everyone listening, and also says, trust your gut. You should stay. Again, because Jess is already gone, I have nothing to go back to right now. So it's just she was off today, so she was able to leave earlier. So I have nothing to go back to. So I'm going to stay. I will make it an adventure. I already know this is what's going to happen. Tomorrow, the morning news service guys on Saturday, they're going to say, oh, Brady's here. Brady will help. I'm going to end up having to do something, right? I don't know if I'm going to be on the air, answering phone calls, pressing buttons, bantering back and forth. I don't know. But somebody is going to ask me to do something for the morning news service tomorrow. I can just feel it. And another guy called in at the commercial break and said, Brady, you can join a long line of WDEV people who have stayed and been part of great breaking news coverage. Think about during Hurricane Irene, we stayed on the air. There was another incident in Montpelier a number of years ago where we stayed on the air. That's true. If anything happens tonight that's big, I will be here to go on the air. I hope nothing happens that's big. I want everybody to be safe. But if something happened that's big, I will be here and could take the air. Texter says, you'll never forget this. I went to work at the airport on 9/11 and didn't get home for 2 days. Oh, my God. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what that was like and the nerves and trepidation about being in an airport on 9/11. Texter says a funny text. I'm not going to read it, but just know I'm laughing at what you just said there. So, yep, it's settled. I'm going to stay the night, and that's how I'm going to wake up on Christmas Eve in the clothes I wore today and at the station. Texter said, Jeff says, go to the res. I don't know that any place is going to be open. Like, I'd be down to go someplace. He's talking about the reservoir. I'd be down to go someplace. I don't know that any place is going to be open tonight. Like, if some place is open, I'll go have a beer, but I don't think that it's going to be. McGillicuddy's is closing early tonight, and I think it's smart. Based on what I just looked at, look, we do not have a window in the studio, so I can only look at what's happening at commercial break. So I can't see things deteriorate in front of me, but based on what I just saw now at this point 10 minutes ago, it looks like a smart decision for places to close early. I'd be better off grabbing a 6-pack of Coors Light at the gas station next door, provided they're still open. But I'm not going to do that because tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and I will be imbibing plenty on my own then. So I'll build up for tomorrow. We'll continue to have more fun here on the Brady Farkas show here on our final show before the holiday, and I do want to get, though, to some real football conversation, as we just had Phil Perry from NBC Sports Boston on. Phil is the best, and there's so much to digest every time he talks and every time he comes on. I had 3 main takeaways from what Phil just said. Number one is that Phil agrees with me. Mac Jones is largely going to get a free pass heading into the offseason. Mac Jones is largely going to get a free pass. That is exactly what we said yesterday. I believe that if you are Robert Kraft, you have to look at things and say, we did not do enough to help this guy, and we are the reason he's not having a chance. And you have to then do everything in your power to give him a chance next season, because only then, to Phil's point, can you get a full and true evaluation. Right? This is what's frustrated me so much about the Patriots. We can't even evaluate Mac Jones. Right? I do not think that Mac Jones is a decade-long Patriot starter. I do not think he's ever a guy that is going to be worth $40 million a year. But that said, I can't say that officially because I've never seen him around a very suitable situation continuously. He had a good situation last year for the most part, didn't have one this year. I need to see him in a good situation and see what he does with it. If you give Mac Jones a good situation and then he fails, then you know he's not the guy. Like, why do we have a pretty good idea that Zach Wilson's not the guy for the Jets? Because he's got a pretty good situation right now and can't do anything with it. Look, Zach Wilson has an excellent defense, and it's being wasted. Zach Wilson got a first-round wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, and it's being wasted. And he got Corey Davis, and it's being wasted. And they invested in the offensive line. Now, that has been more troublesome, and he's dealt. Mekhi Becton, I believe, is out for the season. Dwayne Brown was hurt earlier in the year. So they invested, but it hasn't quite worked out. So I get it's not all perfect, but Zach Wilson has been given a lot and can't seem to do anything with it. Mac Jones has not been given that. So we cannot make a true and definitive evaluation on him. And that's what I want. Right? I believe that Mac Jones is not special. I cannot officially tell you that 100% until we see him with something good around him and then he fails. Right? Look at what the Buffalo Bills did. The Buffalo Bills said, we need to figure it out on Josh Allen. So they went and got him a defense. They went and got him Stephon Diggs. They got him talent in the running game. They beefed up on the offensive line, and they said, kid, if you can't do it now, then you just can't do it. And he's done it. And he's proven to be excellent. The Patriots have not given Mac Jones that chance. Mac Jones needs help, and the Patriots have to do everything in their power to give it to him. You look at Joe Burrow, right? We think that Joe Burrow is better than Mac Jones, right? We think he's better by a lot. Well, look at what Joe Burrow has. He's got a first-round running back, or maybe it's an early second-round back in Joe Mixon. He's got a top-5 pick wide receiver in Jamar Chase. He's got T. Higgins. He's got Tyler Boyd. He's got Hayden Hurst. He's got a lot of stuff around him. And he's got an offensive-minded head coach who's his play caller. Joe Burrow's in a good situation now, and his line is still not great, but they have at least invested in it, getting him La'el Collins from the Cowboys and Ted Karras. Joe Burrow might be better than Mac Jones, but he's certainly in a better situation, and he plays much better than Mac Jones as a result of it. So I think that Mac Jones gets year 3 for sure by virtue of year 2 not being, a real good situation for him. Not being a real good situation for him. Number 2, Phil Perry thinks that Mac Jones is acting out because it's time to panic. And this is interesting, too, because Julian Edelman said that he doesn't like Mac's histrionics. Vince Wilfork said the same thing. So guys who played the game are calling out Mac's attitude. Phil says, I think he's acting this way because it's time to panic, man. I said yesterday I thought Mac was kind of going through a spiritual journey, trying to figure out what kind of leader he is. And Phil said, yeah, maybe. But right now, I just think Mac is trying to ramp up the urgency because the situation is dire. I can see that. Phil's smarter than me about the Patriots. I can see that. I think Mac's going through a bit of an emotional journey, but things for the Patriots have been going downhill now for a while, right? Monday Night Football, they were embarrassed by the Bears. Thursday Night Football, they're embarrassed by the Bills. They're embarrassed at the end of the game last week. They, even against Arizona, they didn't look great. And then wins against the Jets and even the Colts, right? The Colts game I was at, the Patriots scored 26 points. They scored 1 offensive touchdown. They had a defensive touchdown and 4 field goals. I mean, it's been going downhill with the Patriots for a while. I still think that even if that's the case, you have to be more composed and you have to be able to deliver the right message to the team, and you can't appear unhinged all the time. But I can see where Phil's at, that he thinks this thing is really urgent. And I will say this, I've wondered this for a while. The Patriots don't really have an emotional leader. And I think that that's a problem. I think that I think your quarterback needs to be a CEO, workman-like figure. I do. But I also think you need a fiery leader to rally behind, and the Patriots don't really have that. And I think that that is a problem. That does not mean they do not have good leadership. They do. But they're missing that fiery guy. Now, Tom Brady acted as that fiery guy. They had Edelman, who was that fiery guy. They've had guys like that before. This year, Matthew Slater is as workmanlike and professional as it gets. Devin McCourty the same. It doesn't mean them bad leaders. It just means I think the team is missing something leadership-wise. Like I think to my Seahawks, right? Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, they're bad dudes. Russell Wilson was workmanlike and stately. Those guys were bad dudes. Broncos that won the title. Peyton Manning, workmanlike and stately CEO. Von Miller, emotional leader. Think about the guys in the secondary. I think Aqib Talib was on that team. You look at the Rams. Matthew Stafford, is a CEO type guy. Jalen Ramsey, emotional leader. Aaron Donald, emotional leader. And I just don't think the Patriots really have that. They've got great people. They've got nice people. Matthew Judon is a nice and funny guy. He's not, from what I get the sense of, a true emotional, urgent guy. And maybe Mac is just trying to fill that void because he sees that the team doesn't really have it either. Texter says, if I knew you were staying at the station, I would have got you a Taco Bell 12-pack and a deluxe cravings box. Don't toy with me, people. Don't toy with me. Takeaway number 3, Phil says he doesn't think the Patriots are going to win tomorrow, and that's not surprising because most people don't think the Patriots are going to win tomorrow. The Pats are the betting underdog. I haven't seen one national pundit pick the Patriots. I went on Patriots.com, and they had a list of all the national people, I think 16 of them, I think all 16 chose the Bengals. So if you're picking the Bengals, you are on the side of the majority. And my gut tells me the Bengals are going to win as well. But I will be interested in the weather. If it's that windy out, that absolutely helps the Patriots. Right? The weather can be the best neutralizing factor. The Bengals can do a lot of things offensively, but they are dynamic in the speed game with their wide receivers, and they are dynamic in their passing game. If that gets hampered, if that gets taken away, then the Patriots have a better chance. The Patriots don't really pass the ball well anyways. So if it becomes a ground and pound battle, that suits the Patriots better. Like if you said nobody can pass today, both teams can only run, the Patriots, I think, have the advantage. They are better when they do that. So the weather will be interesting. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but if it limits the Bengals, it helps the Patriots exponentially. My gut tells me the Bengals win. My gut tells me, though, that it's a slog early, and eventually we'll look up and realize the Bengals won by double digits. I don't think it's ever going to feel like a blowout, but I think we're going to look up and realize that it was double digits. Like, you remember last Thursday when we were talking about the Seahawks and the 49ers? I kind of said the same thing. Like I said, I think Seattle's going to stay with them. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. We're going to see it be 3-3, 6-3, and then something's going to happen, and the Niners are going to kind of take control. That's what happened. Right, the Niners got the fumble before the half. They scored the touchdown. They go into the half up 10-3. Then they come out and score to start the second half, and it's 17-3 right before you know it. I think the same thing could happen here. I don't think it will ever feel like a blowout, but I think when we look up, it'll be a double-digit Bengals win. Like, the Bengals will go up 3-0 to start. The Pats will answer. It'll be 3-3. Cincy will go up 6-3, and then all of a sudden it'll be 13-3, and it'll be 13-6. Then it'll be 16-6. Then it'll be 16-9, and then it'll be 23-9, and that's the game. Or it'll be 27-14 or 27-16. I just think it will start slow, and then we will end up in a position where the Bengals have won. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Texter says, Mac tries to fire up the team, but he doesn't have the respect yet, I feel. You know, I don't buy that. Most of these same players were on the team last year when Mac led them to the playoffs or helped lead them to the playoffs. Most of these guys were here when Mac got chosen over Cam Newton, and he won them over despite getting rid of Cam, who's a very likable player, right? Like you might not think that Cam was any good anymore. That's fine. But Cam was a guy who with a pedigree, with a resume, with a history, and with the respect that comes with all that. And those guys liked him. And he got kicked to the curb, and Mac still won these guys over, and they went to the playoffs. So I think Mac has their respect. I just think he's searching for kind of how to act at any given moment. Kind of what situation calls for what attitude. I think he's trying to figure that out. One more Patriots news and note. Did you read the story today in The Athletic from Jeff Howe? Because I think Jeff Howe was dead on. It talked about how Robert Kraft is getting close to having one of the most important conversations of his football life. And it is dead on. The conversation that will eventually take place between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick at the end of the season is going to go a long way towards determining and defining the franchise's future. Because you have an owner who wants results, who has stated that he wants results, who laments that results haven't been gotten. You have an owner that, frankly, in my mind, deserves results. You also have an owner who's given Bill Belichick complete control and complete autonomy. So if he tries to start dictating terms or tries to start taking some power back, there's an interesting dynamic at play, and I don't exactly know how that conversation is going to go. Robert Kraft has made a business of not inserting himself into football decisions. As the story stated, he was a little bit meddling with Pete Carroll and with Bill Parcells. With Bill Belichick, he's been very hands-off. So if Robert Kraft, who's been hands-off, decides to meddle again and force Bill Belichick's hand on the offensive coaching situation, how is that received? How is that going to go? If Robert Kraft tries to take away some control from Bill Belichick and make some decisions himself, does Bill Belichick push back? It is a fascinating topic. It is an interesting dynamic. I believe that Robert Kraft has a right to have a say in his organization that he owns, especially now that we're 3 years removed from Tom Brady and this team has not won a playoff game. Okay, this team has not won a playoff game in 3 years since Tom Brady, and this will potentially be 4 years since they've won a playoff game, period. I think it's fair for Robert Kraft to sit down with Bill Belichick and want to know what's up, want to know what the plan is, and for Robert Kraft to say, we need to make some changes here on offense. Bill may not like it, but I think Kraft has every bit the right to say it, and Mike Giardi, the NFL Network, says that these conversations internally are ramping up.
Internally, and I think especially recently, including this week, I think conversations have gotten a little bit more intense about the direction of the offense, personnel, play calling, play design, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, well, the conversation should be happening because it's been ugly this year. It has been ugly this year. Breaking news, non-Patriots, this is something. Jets wide receiver coach Miles Austin is being suspended a minimum of 1 year for violating the league's gambling policy. There's no indication that he bet on NFL games as a coach, but that he bet on other sports, which violates the NFL's personnel gambling policy. The NFL allows players to gamble on non-NFL sports, but not league or club employees. Well, I think it's interesting to say, like right off the bat, should those rules be the same, right? If players can do it, why can't coaches do it? And I think that's, at least right off the bat, I think that's the stance that I take. If players can bet on non-NFL games, I think coaches should be allowed to also. But what I really think should be the case is I don't think that anybody in the league should be allowed to gamble on any of the big four professional sports. I think if you are in the big four professional sports, you should not be allowed to gamble on the other big four, right? So, like, if a Major League Baseball player wants to go bet on the horses, I think that's totally fair. If you want to throw thousands of dollars around playing poker, I think that's totally fair. I don't believe a Major League Baseball player should be betting on an NFL game. And I don't believe an NFL guy should be betting on baseball or basketball. Betting on college basketball or college football, that's a gray area. I would say, man, I don't know. I got to think about this. When I was in school, even at Division III, the rule from the NCAA was you cannot bet on any sport in which the NCAA competes in, right? So in theory, again, there was nobody checking me at Division III Oswego State. But in theory, I was not allowed to bet on any sport in which the NCAA had sports, right? So you couldn't bet on baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, lacrosse, tennis. You couldn't bet on any of that stuff. If you wanted to bet, you could go bet on horse racing. You could bet on NASCAR. You could bet on, you could bet on, like just say, you can play cards. I don't know. This one feels weird to me. If we are going to allow NFL players to bet on non-NFL games, then why can't we allow coaches? I think that none of them should be allowed, but they certainly should have the same rule. They certainly should have the same rule. Tex says, okay, this is all about the Patriots. Tex says, I love Belichick. I think he's past his prime. I want someone new running the show, similar to Dan Campbell. Tex also says it's tough to make this kind of decision on Belichick given the amount of autonomy Kraft has given him. Remember how tough it was for Wayne Huizenga to get Don Shula to retire, and Pittsburgh had the same kind of issue with Chuck Noll. I want to answer that text from Ross about Dan Campbell. What kind of coach do you want? What kind of coach do you get down with in the NFL? I'll answer that, and then we'll do our six-pack of NFL questions next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
In 6 decades, a lot has been said about Gillespie Fuels and Propane. Here's just a sampling.
What makes Gillespie Fuels different, aside from being a family business? They're going to make things right and do whatever it takes. Karen and her team, they certainly go to great lengths to make sure that their customers are taken care of.
The best service and a great price on propane.
Guys are there at a moment's notice and get the job done quickly and get you back running.
The pricing is solid and the service is unbeatable.
The prices are very competitive, and the promptness on service is why I stick with them.
I would say the word that represents them is integrity. They do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it.
With offices in Northfield, Randolph, and Waitsfield, delivery and service requests are handled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right here in Vermont by people who know the temperature and where you live. Gillespie Fuels and Propane, 60 years of Vermonters serving Vermonters. 485-3766.
What's it like to be Santa? Hi, it's Gil Gross, and on the CBS News Radio Holiday Special, we'll have some great stories from a man who has given his life to toys and elves. We'll look into the history of a classic Christmas story, find out where to best see the Northern Lights and why they even exist, and check out the new Christmas album from the alternative rockers Switchfoot by talking to the band. That and more on the Holiday Special from CBS News Radio.
Monday morning from 9 until noon on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Why should you buy your next new or pre-owned vehicle at Cody Chevrolet Cadillac? Selection. We have the best selection of new Chevrolets and Cadillacs in Central Vermont. Experience. Our friendly, qualified employees are focused on exceeding your expectations. Service. Our award-winning, state-of-the-art service department with a convenient drive-through service lane. Location. We are conveniently located near Routes 2, 302, and I-89 on the Barry-Montpelier Road, or online at CodyChevrolet.com. Just a few more reasons. Cody is why, Chevy's the buy. Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Looking for cozy handcrafted holiday gifts that everyone will love? Visit the Vermont Flannel Company, handcrafted in America since 1991. Explore their beautiful selection of 100% organic cotton flannel clothing, blankets, and accessories. Vermont flannel blankets are the perfect present, and Vermont flannel clothing is so comfy you'll want to wear it on every adventure. Vermont Flannel in Woodstock, Burlington, Ferrisburg, Johnson, East Barry, and now Manchester. Shop online at vermontflannel.com.
When my little girl has a stuffy nose, she just can't rest. Mom! And neither can I. So I use Vicks Sinex Children's Saline Nasal Mist to instantly clear her mucus right at the source. It provides fast, drug-free relief from everyday stuffy noses. It's relief for both of us.
Vicks Sinex Children's Saline. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Technology lets you check out faster.
Insert card or tap to pay. Please wait for receipt.
But to help your teams work faster, you need more than technology. You need CDW to implement Adobe Acrobat Pro. It allows unlimited e-signatures, drives efficiency across devices, and offers greater reliability than paper-based workflows.
Please load more receipt paper.
Adobe makes paperless efficiency possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/acrobat.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by vtdigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at vtdigger.org or sign up for our podcast. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Yeah, that snow is coming down here in Waterbury, that is for sure. Texters, Jeff, our listener, says, Brady, I'm heading down to your area of Albany tomorrow. I assume you're heading that way. Let me know if you get in trouble or need a ride. There's safety in numbers, Jeff. Thank you very much. That's much appreciated. I am going in the direction of Burnt Hills, but I think I'm going to go a different way than I usually do. Like, usually I go up towards Chittenden County and then take Route 7 and then 22A. Since I'm starting from Waterbury because I'm spending the night, I think I'm going to go south and go, Route 100, then end up in Rutland. And there's a nice Taco Bell in Rutland. I think I might end up finding myself there as long as it's open tomorrow. And my goal is to leave here around 9:30. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I want to be in my parents' recliner by 1 for the Patriots game. Right? I got the Patriots and the Seahawks on at the same time. I want to be watching football in my chair by 1. That would require me to leave early. I don't know that it's going to happen. I don't know that it's realistic, but I am going to try. I like the text that we got from Ross, who says he wants a coach like Dan Campbell for the Patriots, somebody who fires up the team, kind of a rah-rah type. It's a really good question. What kind of coach do you like? What kind of coach do you want for your football team? And I will say this is not a cop-out, Ross. I think it depends on what kind of team you have. I think it depends on what kind of team you have. Texter says take the interstate only. I can't take the interstate only. So I cannot get to Albany by taking only the interstate. There's going to be a back road somewhere, either Route 7 and 22A or Route 100. Or drive all the way up to Plattsburgh and take the ferry and then take 87 down all the way. But either way, I can't take only the interstate. Thank you, though. Anyways, as for what kind of coach I want, I think it depends on what kind of team you have. I love Dan Campbell. I think that Dan Campbell is absolutely perfect for these Detroit Lions. Why? The Lions are very, very young, and the Lions are full of guys getting second chances. And I think Dan Campbell fits that absolutely perfectly. Why? Dan Campbell is a rah-rah guy. Dan Campbell is an emotional guy. Dan Campbell is a collegiate type guy. And I do not mean that as an insult. I mean that as a compliment. So you bring all these young guys up who are used to rah-rah-rah of college. I think Dan Campbell fits them well. You bring in a guy like Jared Goff who's getting a second chance. I think Dan Campbell, who is the ultimate believer, who is the ultimate optimist, the ultimate in positivity, I think that helps. I love Dan Campbell. And I think his team is built like he is. They're fast, they're emotional, they're young, they're wild, they're free. They need a little bit of help in terms of, they need a little bit of belief, I should say. Dan Campbell provides that. I love Dan Campbell, and I love him for the Lions. I don't think that Dan Campbell would be a great head coach for Tom Brady. Right? Can we acknowledge that? I think that certain teams, who you are, it kind of has to match up with who your coach is. I give you the Boston Bruins as an example, right? Bruce Cassidy is a really good coach. Vegas is having an excellent year. Why were the Bruins tired of him? This team no longer needed his style, right? When these guys were younger, the Bergerons, the Marchands, Pasternak, McAvoy, etc., when these guys were younger and Bruce Cassidy was the disciplinarian, it was better received. As these guys got older, they grew tired of that way. So what have they done now? They've switched it back, and they've brought in the more fun, players more type coach, guy who's better with the veterans, and that's working for this team. Bruce Cassidy worked 3, 4, 5 years ago for the Bruins. He did not work for this team anymore. As for Vegas, now I can't speak to what was happening in Vegas before, but I know that the word was they needed those tightening of the screws, and now Bruce Cassidy is great for them. Like, I look around the NFL and I think, why is Pete Carroll so good for the Seahawks right now? Because this Seahawks team is young, is excitable, is exuberant. It has been doubted, and that is Pete Carroll. Right? Pete Carroll, although he is old, he has a young personality. He thrives on youth. He thrives on energy. He thrives on people doubting him in his way. And so Geno works for Pete, Pete works for Geno, and Pete works for the young players that are there. Why did the Seahawks struggle for several years probably? Well, because Pete Carroll was the same guy, but Richard Sherman no longer fit that mold. Russell Wilson no longer fit that mold. Why did they clash? Russell's the stately businessman, and Pete is young and fun, or acts young and fun, and Russ isn't having it, and Sherm's not having it. Sherm is not as loose. Russ is not as loose. So I think that absolutely who your coach is, kind of depends on who your team is. Okay, Mike McDaniel appears to be really good for Tua. There are Joe Judge being the disciplinarian, being the no-nonsense guy, might not have worked well for Daniel Jones. Tex says, I agree Tom Brady would not do well with Dan Campbell. He likes to fire up the team himself. The Patriots are lacking that fire on their team, and Dan Campbell's style would do well, I feel. I'll say this. After Belichick, I think the Patriots could really use a guy like a Dan Campbell. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, right? But whenever Belichick leaves, Slater will be gone, and McCourty will be gone, and that old guard of guys will be gone, and the Patriots will be transitioning to what I assume will be a younger roster, a more collegiate feel, a team that needs more energy. And a Dan Campbell type will be great for that team then. With Tom Brady, Bill Belichick was great because they are married in their personalities, and that's why they work so well together. Texter says, Brady, I hope that the studio got a new chair. Maybe they'll upgrade the couch next. Great year, Brady. Thanks for your resilience. Merry Christmas. Well, thank you very much. We did not get a new studio chair, but Danny from Vermont Viewpoint came up with kind of a hack to fix it, although it's not working as well right now. But I won't have to be in this chair much of the night. Unless I have to deliver any breaking news, I won't have to be in this chair much of the night. I can be in the other chairs around the area. So, all right, I want to get to our six-pack of NFL questions here heading into a big Week 16. So fire me up the music. All right, big voice guy, question number one. What do we got?
The best game of the NFL weekend is...
Best game of the NFL weekend, for my money, is going to turn out to be the Commanders at the 49ers. You're going to sense a theme here. The games that I'm interested in all have playoff implications or playoff possibilities. The 49ers have already won the NFC West. They are riding a 7-game win streak, but they have something to play for because they have a chance to get up to the number 2 seed in the NFC. So to them, this game is important. It's also always important to see the development of Brock Purdy. We think that this team can win the Super Bowl. It's hard to win the Super Bowl with a quarterback who is a rookie who has now started just 2 games. Every game that he gets experience in is better for him and is better for the team. So I want to see Brock Purdy. I want to see what Kyle Shanahan does with him. I want to see how the Niners still respond to injury. Deebo Samuel, I believe, not going to play in this one, still injured with that, what I believe is a knee or an ankle injury. Didn't play last week against Seattle. And for the Commanders, this game matters too. Like, this game matters a lot, okay? If Washington wins this game, their playoff chances go up 30%. They're at 35% right now. If they win this, it goes up to 65. It goes to about 22% if they lose. So this game has a huge impact on Washington. Taylor Heineke has been a nice story. There's a lot of kind of red flags in how he's played, right? He's not very good on third down. His completion percentage on third down is third to worst out of 33 qualified quarterbacks. Chase Young is going to make his season debut coming back from that ACL. He's going to play a little bit. So I think Washington at the 49ers, sneaky best game of the weekend.
The game that intrigues us most is...
The game that intrigues me most, Green Bay at Miami. Now, Miami's dropped, 3 straight? They were 8-3. They're now 8-6. So Miami needs a victory. The Packers are now technically still in the playoff hunt at 6-8. They've won a couple of games here in a row. So 2 teams right now going in opposite directions. Both need victories. The Dolphins have a 75% chance to make the playoffs. It goes up to 82 if they win. It drops to 64 if they were to lose. The Packers need a win to keep any faint hope alive. So again, these games, 2 teams going in opposite directions. Aaron Rodgers looking for one last great stand in Green Bay. Miami has not been very good the last 3 weeks, right? They've lost to the Chargers. They've lost to the Rams. They're 28th over their last since week 13 in third down defense. Teams are getting nearly 50% of third downs against them. Who are they? The Patriots? I mean, so Christmas Day, I'll be watching a lot of basketball Christmas Day, but Green Bay, Miami is certainly intriguing to me.
The Bar Rescue game of the week is...
Bar Rescue game of the week, worst game of the week, also Christmas Day. Denver at the Rams. Ugh. Now, Russell Wilson is back. Baker Mayfield is playing, so there is a little bit of interest there, but my Christmas nap will come during Denver and the Rams. I mean, the Broncos are 0-6 in true road games this year, which is astounding. They haven't been winless on the road since 1964. And you know what's fascinating about this game? So neither team can make the playoffs, and neither team really has anything to play for. Neither team has a first-round pick, so both these teams are awful. Neither one of them can get a better draft pick out of this game. So they can't make the playoffs. They can't tank for a pick. This game has absolutely no spice to it other than Russ and Baker Mayfield, and that's not enough for me.
The player we want to watch most this week is...
Jared Goff. Jared Goff always got too much grief. He was never as bad as most of you thought he was. He went to the Super Bowl. He went to the playoffs. He won on the road multiple times in multiple years. He beat Drew Brees in New Orleans. He beat Russell Wilson in Seattle in the playoffs. He went to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff is not as bad as many of you have made him out to be. He's got a chance. The Lions are 7-7. They have they can get up to nearly 50% chance to make the playoffs if they win this game. I want to see the Lions have been a lovable underdog the last couple of weeks. Now, how can they do in a game they're supposed to win? Okay, they're supposed to beat Carolina. Is Jared Goff going to be the guy that I think he's capable of being? Is he going to be the guy that he's been? Or is he going to be the guy that all of you think that he is? Goff has gone 4 straight games with 35-plus pass attempts and no interceptions. If he does it in the 5th game here this week, it'll be the 3rd longest streak in the Super Bowl era. That's pretty good. Jared Goff, are you the guy that I think you are, or are you the guy that they think you are? We'll find out.
The player with the most pressure this week is...
Yeah, this is Derrick Henry. The Tennessee Titans right now are just flailing. The Jaguars now have a real chance to win the AFC South. The Titans now have real pressure on them. And Ryan Tannehill's out for a couple of weeks. Malik Willis is going to play this week and start. It's going to be his 3rd NFL start. And everything is on the line for Tennessee. You can't put it on Malik Willis's shoulders. It's got to be on Derrick Henry's shoulders. Now, Henry owns the Texans. The Texans are bad, and Henry has 892 yards in his last 4 games against the Texans. Nearly 900 yards in 4 games against the Houston Texans. That is insane. That's like what Joe Mixon has done over the last full 16 games, a full season almost. Derrick Henry needs to take all the pressure off Malik Willis and needs to give the Titans a chance to win this game.
The most amazing NFL stat of the weekend is...
Most amazing stat, Austin Eckler has 95 catches this year. That's 21 more than any other running back. He could be only the 5th running back in NFL history with 100 catches in a season. That shocks me. I know the passing game and I know the dump-off game has become more prevalent only in the last 10 years or so, but really only the 5th running back in NFL history to get 100 catches Eckler will be? That surprises me. There's your 6-pack of NFL questions. A huge week on deck. Remember, the Patriots will take on the Bengals tomorrow with our coverage beginning at 10 a.m. Tex says, we want photographs of Waterbury in the storm. I will take some pictures, put them up on my Twitter account. Tex says, what's for Christmas dinner? Are you having prime rib? If you mean tonight, I'm having McGillicuddy's. If you mean actual Christmas, we're having subs, which is awesome to me. That's great. And Ross says, we need to get you a gaming computer chair to hold together that chair you guys have in the studio. Well, if Danny can find another workaround for it, we'll be good. We're going to end the show next here on DEV.
Hi, I'm Matt with Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems. If you have a wet basement, moldy crawl space, or settling foundation and need an effective solution, we do all things basementy. Basement waterproofing, basement insulation, basement structural repair, and nasty crawl spaces too. Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems has you covered. We offer free estimates, so for all things basementy, call 855-DRY-TIME or visit northernbasements.com.
The afternoon news service is every single weekday at 4 p.m. right here on WDEV. It's news, it's business, it's sports that you care about. We talk to our local experts from all around the state, looking at every sector to keep you informed and up to date on the latest news that you need to be aware of. The afternoon news service every single day at 4 p.m. right here on the Friendly Pioneer, WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and streaming on the WDEV radio app.
Hi, this is Ashley LaFeria, and I'm a registered nurse and long-term care coordinator at Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. CVHHH is looking for a registered nurse or LPN to join our health promotions team, which provides community-based medical care and education to improve people's health and wellness. We offer year-round public foot care clinics, public flu clinics, and COVID vaccinations for staff and patients. In this flexible 10 to 15 hour a week role, you will assist with public foot care clinics and provide other support, including private duty care to clients at home. You will also provide administrative support in the office, including coordination of patient vaccine records. At CVHHH, you can set and manage your own schedule, and you can start your day from home. Most important, you will feel a sense of pride knowing you've provided care that makes a difference in the community. To learn more and apply, visit cvhhh.org.
Hi, this is Reese.
This is Sadie. And this is Nellie.
And our Khaki and Poppy and Mama own the Stowe Street Emporium in Waterbury. We love visiting the store during the holidays because it's very magical with all the water lanterns and ornaments on display.
I like seeing Santa in the front window and the glittering Christmas tree lights. And I like warm khaki sneakers, chocolate truffle.
The Lantern Parade is fun to watch, and I'm hoping to be in the parade this year.
I can't wait to meet the reindeer from the North Pole when they come to Birdside Books. And I like when Poppy sneakers, chocolate truffle.
I like seeing all the cool new toys and gadgets at the Emporium, like the mini retro arcade game.
I just got my ears pierced, and I think the jewelry making kit looks super fun. And I like when Mama sneaks me chocolate truffle.
We hope to see you soon and wish you a Merry Christmas from our family to yours.
Enter our world of magic at 23 Stowe Street in historic downtown Waterbury.
For some people, all they need to know about weather is the high temperature for the day. But if you're one of those people who really wants to understand the hows and whys of weather, especially here in the Green Mountain State, then Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is for you. Some of the topics I'll explore are the types of precipitation, global temperature averages, and tropical cyclones. Roger Hill's Weather Classroom podcast is available at WDEVradio.com, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back with Brady Parker Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show right here on this snowy Friday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Breaking news, Craig Kimbrell has signed a one-year deal with the Phillies because, of course, he has. Everybody is signing with the Phillies or the Mets these days, so the arms race continues, and Dave Dombrowski continues to scoop up former Red Sox. And so there you go. Kimbrell goes there. Blue Jays make a trade today, getting slugging outfielder Dalton Varsho for Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and a top 10 prospect in all of baseball in Gabriel Moreno. So that's actually a very fascinating trade. Toronto gets a left-handed bat that they need to give up a pretty good one in Gurriel after also giving up Teoscar Hernandez, and they give up a top 10 prospect. So that's pretty fascinating there. I want to wish all of you who are celebrating a great Christmas. I also want to wish you all a Happy New Year. I am going to be out all next week. Next week is my final week of vacation for the year. I took one back in, I don't know, July or something like that. I don't like taking a lot of time off, so I take pride in being here every day. But they encourage me to take my time off, so next week I am off. And I think we are going to play some college football bowl games some of those days. Nick Mumley is going to do a show, I believe, 2 of the 5 days. But I will be around, spend a couple days in Albany. I think I'm going to hit the Rivers Casino one day and see how I do there and have some fun a little bit. But I will be back at it with you all after the new year. I appreciate all of you. Look, we got a ton of texts today, and that means a lot to me because this very easily could have been a show where nobody was listening. Right? This could have been a show where nobody was listening, and we got, I don't know if it's record text, but we got a lot today. So I appreciate all of you for making today's show go smoothly. I appreciate all of you for listening every single day. It really does mean a lot to me. And it sounds corny, and maybe it sounds like something I just have to say. I hope that's not how it comes off, because I really do mean it. This is a great station. It's a great listener base. You are all tremendous fans. I appreciate the texts, the calls, the comments, the emails, the people who tell me they love the show or they love me or they love a guest, whatever. I appreciate all of you. And I hope you have a great, great holiday. I will do the same. And I'll be enjoying watching the Patriots. I'll be enjoying watching everything over the week, just like you will. UVM basketball against Miami coming up on the 28th, and it'll be time for conference play. So I will be back after the new year. I ask you to, as always, support the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel in 2023. Text says, Nick Mumley, looking forward to his shows. Have a fun and awesome Christmas, says Brady and Jess. I hope you have a great one, and everyone at DEV. Stay safe, everybody. I'll enjoy staying the night tonight. We'll see how it goes. So we'll see if the ghosts come out. So have some fun, everybody, and I'll be here if you need me. 244-1777. There you go. Have a great Christmas, everybody. And again, a Happy New Year. I will see you after the new year. Phil Perry, our NBC Sports Boston, Pat's Insider, and the full show. We'll have him on the podcast channel coming up here in a little while. Jazz is next. Lee Cattell in for George Thomas here on DEV.
3760 delivered in the countdown to 4,000 at Memorial Valley Ford. Rick the Kid and I want to thank John and Emily Merrill from Waterbury Center